It's KD the one, and I am live. As you've seen the title, I'm not trying to pull no punches. I wanted to do full research before I got into this topic, before I seen it, cause really, the research that I'm showing y'all, this is out of me checking out the wiki. This is that me saying here scrolling on TikTok because normally I don't be on TikTok, but really I'm trying my hardest to find the best information for y'all on this case. And really right now, if y'all want to know my true honest opinion on this bit, this is how I feel.
Suteka, thank you.
Speed this up.
Austin Metcalf should have never approached another student and trying to make him move out of a section. Once the situation became tense and he felt threatened, the wisest thing he could have done was walk away. His inability to recognize escalation and to escalate unfortunately cost him his life. At the same time, Karmelo should have never escalated the situation by threatening him. He should have gotten up and left. And even if he felt the need to defend himself, there were other ways to handle that without making a decision that now has him sitting in jail. The bigger issue is how people are talking about this tragedy. Nobody wants to say the obvious. Both young men should have avoided the conflict.
Now, I feel like there's too obvious. Yes, they should have avoided the conflict. But both of these were young men. They both were around 17 during the conflict. They both were young and dumb. And the thing is, they had this ego and pride problem. They were all in their head. They allowed their actions to just fester into whatever this shit was.
This is not about picking sides. This is about recognizing how pride, ego.
This is not about picking sides. The shit that pissed me off the most about this shit is the fact that people are so open to pick a side to this shit. Oh, hell nah. Like, how I seen, and I put myself in both shoes, really. Because I would fear for my life every day if I had the idea, oh, people are carrying weapons to school. Vice versa, what had the altercation jumped to make it that severe to bring a weapon out? I feel like there's a lot of facts that people are not bringing up or people just don't have, yet they're willing to pick a side for ego and pride that has shit that had nothing to do with them. In all honesty.
And poor conflict resolution can turn something small into something deadly. In America, we have a serious problem with pride and ego. Too many adults do not even have the emotional intelligence to understand de escalation, so they pass that same mindset down to young people. That is why the comments are full of people choosing teams instead of learning the lesson. The lesson is simple: avoid conflict when you can. Walk away when you can. De escalate when you can. Being right is not worth losing your life, your freedom, or destroying multiple families. A lot of tragedies in this country do not start big. They start small. Then pride takes over. Ego takes over. Emotions take over. And because people were never taught how to pause, walk away, or resolve conflict.
One thing I feel like this is actually a tragedy. The fact that y'all made it into a tragedy. In all honesty, and this is the video that this comment was under.
They didn't give Karmelo Anthony.
Main reason I had us read it, I didn't want no stuttering. I wanted to slowly break down every piece, because this is exactly how I feel when it comes to this case. The real people, like, I don't see no hero or villain when I see these two kids. But the real villains I'm starting to see are the people who are viewing this shit, the people who are commenting, the people who are taking this and not realizing that no matter what, two people did lose their lives. Someone in a more literal sense and someone in a more figurative.
35 years in prison because he's black. They gave him 35 years in prison because his parents didn't care about him. Let me tell you why.
I feel like that's another thing. We're still getting this narrative painted towards us when it's really internal. People are saying, oh, because he's black and white, that we heavily glorified this case, and I feel like that's what bastardized the evidence in everybody's mindset when it comes to this shit. Because everybody got an opinion. If they would have left it off as a normal case, I feel like it would have just been another done deal. No one would have cared. I feel like Carmelo probably would have walked out or been set for self-defense. But because this case got so glorified, because everybody had their opinion on it, because everybody's trying to put off their little bit of info, I feel like that's what makes it harder to just convince them, convict them.
Everybody has an arraignment, and everybody's offered a plea deal. Everybody's offered a plea deal. Everybody. If he would have pled guilty, he could have got maybe 7 years, 5 years, something small. But if he pled guilty, that would have cut his family's fundraiser short. You know, the fundraiser they bought a $1 million home with, or something like that. If he would have pled guilty, it probably would have been a manslaughter charge, something like that.
His family wanted him to keep fighting this case. His family wanted him to keep fighting this case because this case is funding them. This narrative of black versus white is funding them. You can't say that the kids are the villains, but really, they are just a product of their environment. And I do got another video for you after this one.
Prosecutors would have worked out a deal. No, but his parents said no. You're going to plead not guilty. We want you to go to trial. We're going to keep the fundraiser going. So he didn't receive 35 years because he was black. He received 35 years because the people who were supposed to be looking after him, they didn't have his best interest. They only wanted that money. And because of that state's laws, that's what they had to convict him with. It sucks, but the parents knew this going into it, and they still decided to push him into trial. If you've ever been in trial or court, and everyone is informed if you don't take the plea, you could get the maximum. Everyone is informed of this.
Now, at the same time, I feel like the family wanted to push it because they honestly believed that they could have fought it. But at the same time, there's too much money coming into the situation for it not to be something else. Now, like I said, I did have another video on this. I'm trying to see if I could find it. It seemed like, well...
The state has now rested in the murder trial against Karmelo Anthony after calling 21 witnesses. Before we do this recap, I want to be very clear that this is not me giving an opinion.
Oh, stream disconnected for a second.
Calling 21 witnesses. Before we do this recap, I want to be very clear that this is not me giving an opinion on guilt or innocence. This is a recap on the evidence and testimony presented in the state's case. Once the defense has rested, I will also recap their case. Karmelo Anthony is charged with murder in the death of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf. Austin died on April 2nd, 2025 during a high school track meet at Kirkendall Stadium in Frisco, Texas. Austin was a student of Memorial High School and Karmelo was a student of Centennial High School. The state's theory is that this was murder, not self-defense. Prosecutors argued that during a rain delay, student athletes were under team tents, and Karmelo Anthony was under the Memorial team tent, even though he was not a Memorial student. According to the state, multiple Memorial students asked Anthony to leave that tent area, and the situation escalated after Austin also asked him to leave. Several student witnesses testified about what they saw under or near that tent. Some testified that Anthony was asked to leave multiple times. Some testified that he had...
I do wish they don't show violent clips and shit like that, because that does paint more of a false narrative of what's going on.
His backpack in his lap, or
unless
his
that's
hand
some shit
near
that
or
actually
inside
happened.
the bag before the stabbing
where the fuck
of
is
Austin.
that case?
There was also testimony that Anthony made comments including, quote, "touch me and see what happens," or that Austin would have to move him. The state also presented testimony that Austin did push or shove Anthony before the stabbing, but student witnesses described it as not hard or not enough in their opinion to justify what happened next. The state also emphasized through testimony that Austin was unarmed. One student testified that Austin said he was not going to fight at a track meet. Another testified that Austin was not ganging up on Anthony and that Hunter Metcalf, the twin brother of Austin, was not involved in the physical altercation. Jurors also heard testimony from coaches and school staff. Memorial's track coach testified that team tents at track meets are treated like a team's designated area, similar to a bench in other sports.
Okay, so where was the coach? I always had this bad narrative when it came to this. Where was the adults during this? Like, why wasn't the adults near the tent? Why didn't the adults walk up to him and tell this kid to move? That's what I want to know. That's why I feel like people are able to paint this narrative, because there's a lot of kids saying this, that, and the third. Not everybody's able to put a good case together, because, hell, there's a clip of the brother of Austin, I'm pretty sure, and it does have a little bit of an add-on towards this, saying that Austin grabbed Karmelo's bag. I'm still not saying that that's warranted for the stabbing, but still, this is information that could have pushed for escalation, technically.
He explained that teams use those tents as their space during meets, and that
Also,
people
I hate
generally
this
do
video
not just
because
go
it
into
has
another
nothing to
team's
do with the
tent and stay
situation.
there. He also described seeing Austin after he was injured and hearing Hunter, again, the twin brother of Austin, yelling for help. The athletic trainer testified about trying to help Austin, including rescue breaths and CPR efforts until paramedics arrived. Jurors also heard 911 audio from the scene, including the frantic efforts to get help and continue life-saving measures after Austin was injured. A paramedic testified that when he got to Austin, Austin was not breathing and he did not have a pulse. He said life-saving efforts continued, including in the ambulance, but Austin never regained consciousness. Jurors were also shown surveillance video and body cam video. A forensic video analyst testified about stadium surveillance footage. The defense questioned him about how unclear parts of that video were, and he did agree that the video did not clearly show every movement under that tent. A school resource. The state has now rested in the murder trial against
We have known that there was some movement that just wasn't present, that just wasn't talked about, all that bullshit. I feel like here's the brother situation.
There was this kid, before I knew his name now, this kid was sitting under our tent at track. We asked him to move. He started getting aggressive and talking reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, "You need to move." And he's like, "Make me move." Austin grabbed his backpack. The kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could.
See, I feel like that was him telling his real event. He was too shocked to lie. This is still a traumatic event. He is still a young kid. People need to have grace towards this situation. The fact that we have glorified it a lot, it does scare me, because we're glorifying it for the wrong reasons. We should show sympathy for both sides. That's the reason why I feel like both sides are able to fucking throw claims on shit. It shouldn't be no sides in the first place.
What happened?
Yeah. I want to see if I could find the video. I ain't even gonna lie.
Nah, niggas are
This is the type of shit that be like pissing me off though. Like, we don't need this type of behavior. We don't need this type of shit, bro. We really don't. Like, it's not Austin's fault that this shit got glorified to the way it is. That the fact that you have these heavy feelings, that you are so emotional about this shit, bro. But the fact that disgrace someone's fucking grave, bro, that's a crime of itself. Like, I cannot condone when our own kind do some shit like this. When y'all get too overly emotional for a case like this, when y'all can't condone your feelings and see the facts ahead of you, that you have to pick sides.
My son didn't intend to hurt anyone. My son was defending himself.
It took less than 3 hours for a jury to reject 19-year-old Karmelo Anthony's claims of self-defense in the stabbing death of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf. Prosecutors argued Anthony intentionally killed Metcalf after being taunted and shoved by Metcalf and his teammates at a high school track meet.
Take us inside that courtroom. What stuck out to you?
What stuck out to me, number one, was the all-white jury. But I was trying to be, like, all right, it's not.
See, after seeing that first clip, the fact that they could have pleaded guilty, my bad. The fact that they could have pleaded guilty and this whole situation would have been lessened, but they chose to keep fighting. I feel like painting the race thing is just adding fuel to the fire.
That big of a deal. I mean, the truth is on our side.
At the sentencing hearing, the defense called only one witness on Anthony's behalf, his mother, Kayla Hayes.
What did you tell the jury?
To have mercy on my son.
What do you say to his grieving family?
It's unfortunate to where nobody wins. We've all been hurt by this. Everybody.
That poor boy is fixing to experience a life that I would not wish upon anyone.
Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff, called Anthony's sentencing bittersweet.
What it boils down to for me is this. Austin will never walk through that door again and never give me a hug.
The case drew national attention, prompting protests in support of both teens. And both families involved say they've received threats.
This morning, I've had...
Like, seeing crowds and shit
this
like
morning.
this.
Families involved.
I could imagine, really, me being in an altercation with someone. And either side, me talking to someone, trying to de-escalate, they get up, I push them, and then it get bigger than it is. Or me sitting there minding my own business, and me having to, or me misreading the situation, me escalating it more than I need to. Either way, I think about they're all 17, 16-year-old kids around, or probably all around the same age grade. I know when we were younger, we were slick with our mouths, so imagine this generation. Anything could have been said, anything could have been done, and until, like, the fact that they said that there's no clear footage of it, that really confused me. The fuck is this?
Involved say they've received threats.
This morning, I've had multiple emails, texts, threatening me, calling me all sorts of names.
During our interview, the Anthonys made a...
That's another thing. Y'all attacking the victims' families. And I say victims because everybody has their own mindset to the prayer to the actual victim and his family. The victim is important, not the killer. In my mind,
19-year-old Karmelo
Anthony shit bigger than what it is. So both of them are important. When it comes to actual legal case, legalized evidence, both sides are equally important. You have to figure out everything. Just because someone lost their life doesn't mean that someone is guilty. But at the same time, if he did the crime, he needs to do this time. I feel bad for both families because they both suffered a great loss, and that's something that we really do have to take for account. Both families really suffered a great loss, and I don't understand why the internet choose to paint this big ass narrative, to pick sides, because it's really disheartening. It's like y'all want to be racist. Y'all both want to be racist, blacks and whites. Like, I don't know. That's just how I feel on this shit. I wanted to sit here and put out a video of basically the amount of videos that I've been getting hit with this is crazy. I had to look up the case myself because it seemed like TikTok just didn't want to go. Like I said, I don't really be on TikTok. But this is all I've been seeing is the Karmelo Anthony situation. Please let me know how y'all feel down in the comments. Please let me know how y'all feel about this case, because really it's a stressful one, and it's something that I feel like we need to really like enlighten ourselves about. For legal jargon, for everything, we need to actually sit here, analyze this case, take out our biases, and realize, put ourselves in each shoe, and realize someone really lost their lives. But until then, I hope we can make another video on this soon. I hope there's another court date that actually like opens up, or if it's done deal, cause I ain't really know that much about the full court hearing. I know that people like 50 Cent said that he wants to cover the full legal fee until he wins, but I was like, that was a minute ago, so we don't know. But I'll see y'all boys next time, and hopefully we get more videos on this. Peace.